Hello guys and welcome back to another episode here from the BeamNG modeling tutorial series, and in this episode we are going to continue with the materials. So if you go back into the material editor, I think this is where we left off with only our base color map in place. And yeah, in this episode I'm going to explain all of the other ones as well. So yeah, let's go into Blender first. And let's see what we can do here, because the first image texture we're going to create is the ambient occlusion map down at the bottom. What the ambient occlusion map does is, AO is ambient occlusion for short, and it's with the data tag, because ambient occlusion is grayscale data. Ambient occlusion just tells the renderer of BeamNG what places on the material are occluded by whatever, so they get rendered darker when in shadow. Usually if you have a very simple render, everything that's shadow gets darkened to the same amount, but with ambient occlusion, for example, right up here in the engine bay, this part probably would get a little bit darker because it is occluded from a lot of directions. So when this would be in shadow, it would get darker, for example, than something on the outside. If this would fall in shadow, there still is a lot of directions where light can come from. Down here, not really so much. So that's what ambient occlusion does. And all you got to do for ambient occlusion is select all the objects you want to bake from. Select your ambient occlusion texture and go to bake, select ambient occlusion and hit bake. Well, before that you might adjust some render properties. I disabled noise threshold because it was still getting quite noisy, even though 0.005 is relatively low, so I disabled it and put the samples to 480. You might even put 500 or 580 if you want so. Just a little bit of more precision, less noise. So yeah, just go ahead and hit bake. Okay, we are done baking. It took like a few minutes, not really long. Depends on texture and noise on samples, things like that. So yeah, we have our ambient occlusion texture right here. You can see obviously the outside is white, and right here this is the bottom of the fuel tank. That's dark because it's close to the floor. And this is the inside of the door where it's near to the door jamb, I believe. Yep. And yeah, so that's ambient occlusion. It's, I think, the easiest one to make. Let's go ahead and save it, copy it over. There it is. Go back into Beam. Let's find there, tutorial. Go ahead and open this up. You can see not much has changed, but if we go, for example, yeah, this spot, I told you this spot, you can see it's quite dark in here. But if we remove ambient occlusion, you can see how it gets brighter. Well, that's because ambient occlusion tells BeamNG that this is a spot that is occluded a lot by different objects around it. So when it's in shadow, it should get a lot darker than something on the outside here, which you can see doesn't get nearly as dark. So yeah, that's ambient occlusion. The next thing I would say is the roughness map. So let's make that. The roughness map is, well, determines how rough the surface is, and it's again grayscale, so from black to white. I just made this new texture. Let's save it as, wait, no. There you go. Roughness is R. That's easy, and it's also data, so let's save it. I'm going to, so black roughness means full. Like where you can show, you can see this slider if you don't have a map in here, a texture in here, you can actually see what it does. if you pull it all the way to 0, means 0 roughness, or full smoothness, means it reflects very well. And if we go back to full roughness, you can see no reflection anymore, no highlights, no bright spots. You can see it's very a little bit more flat shading. So yeah, that's what it does. Yeah, what do I want to do? I'm just going to go with this kind of color. Because that's, yeah, it's a little bit rougher, especially for things like suspension components, because they're usually not that like fresh. So they probably would be a little bit darker, not less smooth. And now this is the fuel tank. I'm going to make that completely white because it's plastic, and plastic usually is a pretty rough surface and doesn't give nice reflections. So that's going to be completely white for complete roughness. Although, yeah, that's not usually going to like the complete extremes. We usually do that. I'm also going to make this maybe a little bit darker. Yeah, it's obviously always kind of tricky to know. Yeah, I think that's all right. Let's go ahead and save it. And oh, I need to move it as well, obviously. Let's go roughness map. There you go. Open it up, and you can see it's not really changed much. You can see the surface here got a little bit brighter, but not that much. And yeah, it has not really changed that much. Maybe we can give this a little bit darker so you can see the difference better. There you go. For example, you can see it right here. The fuel tank is rougher than this on top. This is supposed to be metal. So yeah, it's minuscule amount, but you might be able to see it. Actually, I'm going to go even a little bit darker. But this is about as far as it would go. You can see now you can see some highlights. Start seeing them a little bit. And yeah, so that's roughness for you. The next thing would be the metallic map. You can see this. If we have a, let's go ahead and create this one. It's going to be _M for metallic. If we have a white piece here, then that is completely complete metal, will behave like metal. But there really are not many pieces that are complete metal. Even if I think, well, suspension components, they're made of metal, right? Well, the thing is, they are usually dirty, not clean really, so they don't get that metal treatment. Only things that are full metal, maybe the hub. Maybe we could make the hub complete metal. Maybe even if I show you, we have the wheel material right here. Although, okay, you could see the metallic map. That's the metallic map for the wheel. Okay, here you can see that this is red, and if we pull this down, you can see the difference here to what's metal and what's not. There you go. So you might give this a little bit of metallicness, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I think this is the hub. See there, metal. Okay, now I've given the hubs complete full metal, and I might give like a little bit of metallicness to some other suspension components. So yeah, maybe a little bit of metallicness, because they still are technically made of metal, but not perfectly clean. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and copy this over. What the hell? Oh, I put it into the normal map. That's not what I was aiming to do. And if we pull this factor up, you can see nothing changes except for back here, for these parts. Yeah, they are now metal. Obviously, you have to, with all of these, tune it to your liking so it looks good. You can obviously, with everything in programming, look at what the devs have done, what pieces they have, and what their textures look like. And by the way, you saw it with the Ibishu wheel that metallic and all of these data maps are actually red because they only use the red channel. So would be like, for example, if we take this and then go in here, RGB, let's turn all of these down. So we have this as our metallic map now, and yeah, that's what they do. It saves a little bit of texture space. The textures get smaller because obviously they don't need to save details in metallic, yeah, metallic. And now you have your metallic map right there with only the red channel, so it saves a little bit of space. Now the last one would be the normal map, which is a little bit different from the others, because we use it to add some fake detail to our mesh. Why would you want that? Well, because usually adding details to your 3D model would include adding more polygons, but adding more polygons reduces render performance of your 3D model. So you would want to keep polygons down but detail up. That's where a normal map comes into play. It just helps you with adding some fake detail because a normal map basically changes at what angle the surface is rendered at. With a normal map you can change how the lighting interacts with the surface by changing at what angle the pixel is rendered. Long story short, you can add fake detail onto your object. How we do that is we start off with another texture, which I'm just going to save as height to normal. You see why it's called like that soon. First of all, we're going to make everything just halfway on the gray scale. There you go. Save this. Well, we're now going to create a height map. A height map, simply said, is just changes at what height the certain part of the texture is. So this gray we now said is middle ground, so really nothing changed. And now we can paint some details onto it, which we'll later convert into a normal map. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do where can we add some fake detail. I'm thinking about the place that would fit. Oh yeah, maybe we can add like a fuel cap. Yeah, that might be a thing. Although where would that be? Around here, maybe. Yeah, right there. So I'm going to choose black because black would mean lower on the surface. So yeah. And now I'm just going to create like this kind of curve here. And actually, according at least to an old post from the BeamNG wiki, this is how it's still done, with making a height map and then converting it to a normal map. I'm also going to add some detail with white to the underside of the hood, so you can see like a metal structure. So yeah, I'm going to also create that. Maybe make it a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. Okay, this is like supposed to be the underside structure of the hood, and I'm also going to create some bolt holes I'm just going to keep it at that. And now for the big part where we convert this to a normal map. You can either do this on a website. I'm going to put that link in the description, or with a plugin for Paint. There you go. Wait, cancel. Let me just zoom in so we can see better. This is a converter. I found that exactly 5 is a good value. That works very well. Yeah, that 5.01 is the only value that really does a good job. And let's save this as the normal map. And this also has a different tag, which is the normal tag. Let's go ahead and save it, and also put in here. And now we can get our normal map here. And there you go. You know, we have normal map in here. You can see it's like this like greenish, yellowish kind of color. That's because it basically just takes away the blue from the image, and that's the result because you don't need the blue channel. Yeah, again, for space optimization. And yeah, so let's take a look under the hood. Here you can see the pattern we created into it, and now it looks like there's some form of structure underneath here, and you can see those bolt holes we have in there. Very, very nice. Looks good, but obviously in here you can see that there actually is no structure. It's just the normal map doing its job. Also, we can go back here. Yeah, it shows what it's supposed to do. So there we have nearly all of the maps here. And you might wonder why we don't use the base color detail map, because that's usually actually used for terrain materials. What it does is, if you go far away, it uses the base color map. If you go very, very close to it, it will change from using the color map to using a tiled version of the detail map. So yeah, for example, where can I show you this? For example, here you can see the detail map is this grass here. See on the bottom, and if you go far away, I think at some point, yeah, there it switches to a texture that you see from further away. So yeah, and now it changes back to the ones with the grass. Yeah, that's basically what it does. And same thing with the normal detail map. That's the same thing right there. Okay, now I told you, I think in the last video, that we're also going to add a second layer by basically doing this. And yeah, so okay, so now we have it back at default. And the second layer is usually used for a paint material. And that paint material also gets the ambient occlusion. There you go. And now we're going to get into the last map, which is the opacity map. The opacity map just changes at which spots the second layer applies. So let's make everything black, which would mean the second layer is applied nowhere. Now we're just going to make the parts that we want to have paint on, make them white. No, not you. The hood would get paint, and this is the door, I believe. And let's save this as the opacity map. It's _C would be opacity, I believe, because of, I don't know, the C in opacity, but yeah, it's C. And let's go ahead and open this, and you can see the white paint layer is now only applied at the place we defined in the opacity map. So yeah, that's what the opacity map does. And okay, how do we make this look like paint? First of all, we select instant base color, which means what I also told you in the last video, that if you go ahead and go into color, we can change the color of this, but you will see that we actually can't go to black. and we can't go to completely black, and also the colors also don't really look as saturated as they should be, which is because we don't have second layer, advanced properties. We don't have a base color palette map, which changes what parts of the car, what part of the second layer we can change within the menu. So since we want to be able to change all of it, we take red, pure red. This is pure red. Yeah, is it pure red? Yeah, it's pure red. And just apply this to every single thing in here. Actually, we could just make everything red. There you go. And this is the underscore P or palette, I believe. And actually, the thing is, you also have like the secondary color. Actually, you have three different colors. Come on, man. You have three different color options in. There you go. Now it already looks a lot better. You have these three different color options here for paint 1, 2, and 3. Here we have paint number 1. And paint 2 and 3 are, if we go into the palette map, and if we choose this pure, is this pure green? Yep, pure green. And everywhere that pure green is, there is going to be the second paint. So yeah, we paint somewhere around here. I think it's going to appear somewhere on the rear bumper. And if we choose pure blue, which this is, yep. Where can we paint that? Yeah, maybe on the front bumper somewhere. That should hit the front bumper. There you go. You can see those spots are now uncolored, and we can change the color by this. That's how you can utilize these different paints here. But I'm just going to revert this back to the standard one because we just want to paint the entire car at once, obviously. At least for our use case. And you might now think, well, the paint still doesn't really look as reflective as it should be. And the first step towards that would be going to second layer. By the way, the normal map obviously also applies to the second layer. Otherwise we wouldn't see that beautiful fuel cap. There you go, now it's there. And yeah, first of all we cranked the metallic map metallicness to 1. And now the thing that makes paint reflective is the clear coat. There also is a clear coat map, so you can apply clear coat to specific places, which is usually done. So yeah, I don't know, because in some gaps on the inside there might not be, there is no clear coat, but I'm just going to. You can see here we have added the clear coat. There you go. Also there's a roughness for the clear coat, but I don't see how that changes much. Set it around somewhere there. And now you've got a full material on your hands. And there's also something for different materials. Obviously we have all of these. For example, reflection mode. Actually right now reflection mode should be level, because that would mean it used the reflection from the level. It still worked with none just about there, but I think yeah, you should choose level. And double-sided would mean you can see it from the inside, which you might use for some materials, but obviously we have to render the two surfaces then. And we already have the solidify obviously in Blender. So yeah, I think that would be all of the things you have to do to create a material in BeamNG.drive and make your vehicle fully paintable, fully colorable. And yeah, now we have a nice looking car on our hands. And what do you do if you have a nice car? Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss any future videos. And I see you guys again in the next episode.